All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for listening to the podcast. I am here with the lovely Victoria Bays. How are you doing, Victoria?
I'm good, Adam. How are you?
I'm great. I am fantastic. I saw that we finally got the picture fixed on our podcast. It was my photo forever. I think people would like to see you much better than me on there.
Well, now they can see me. I'm there.
And the title is Stage 2 officially. But how's your week been? I know you had a little sickness for a little while
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sick. I think everyone I speak to has been sick and has said the same thing, that it's just been harder to get over and they've just been knocked out with it. But I'm feeling so much more human the last like 48 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, feel much more back to myself.
All these new variants, it's so real. Like before, again, I was just, so we are just talking about how like as a kid you would get sick for a day or two and then kind of bounce back. Now you're out for like a solid week and like nothing you can do.
Yeah, and having like a toddler that brings everything home from nursery, like constantly, I just am like fighting a losing battle.
There's
But
no
yeah, feeling
winning.
so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have a very special guest on today. I would like to introduce you guys to Justin. How you doing today, Justin?
Good. Yeah, I'm great.
Awesome. And now you are in one of my favorite places of the world. I haven't actually been to Bend, Oregon, but I've been all around that area and mainly like Seattle and Bellingham and Issaquah, those areas over there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it over there. So, tell us a little about yourself and what you do. I am so intrigued in this because obviously, you're a psychiatric nurse, right? And this obviously is playing more and more into today's society. I obviously since COVID, but you probably have been, seeing this stuff way before COVID, right? Just more prevalent in these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of changing. And there's a lot of important trends that I can speak to related to the book and nutrition and taking care of ourselves and the whole nine yards.
Yeah, I saw that you did a self-published book. Kudos to that. That's got to take some time and effort.
Yeah. It was a labor of love for sure. I thought, but it actually has been a little bit, it helped me on the back end with efficiency because now everything that I was trying to teach patients, it's in a book form. So I just, hand it out to patients and they hit the
I,
ground running. It's
I
great.
love it. One of the things that kind of caught my eyes, that kind of briefed over what you do, is that you use the words modern day options. And I think that plays in so much to what we do here, kind of modern day weight loss. And I'm not stealing your line here. But I do think it is important because a lot of our practices, whether you're like a dietitian, a nutritionist, or a psychiatric nurse, there's a lot of old school, teachings, and I think we need to kind of evolve from that. And I like how you put that modern day options. So tell me about that.
Yeah, that's one of the points that I was most proud of about the book was the subtitle. So the title is The Mental Wellness Diet, which I thought was catchy. And the subtitle is Ancient Wisdom, Evolving Science, Modern Day Options. And it's about combining all three. So as we evolved, we grew up in an environment that worked for us. There was a give and take with the seasons and us and our environment and food and sunlight and
Sure.
changing seasons. Um, then, the Industrial Revolution and World War II, and we had all this petroleum and we made plastics and we, after we won World War II, the United States and the Western world, we thought that science could figure out all problems to everything. And then that kind of folded into medicine. I mean, as you can tell, because there's a pill for every ill, better living through chemistry type stuff. And that's the tradition which that stemmed from. So many scientists are out there, as I've discovered, and then this is the reason why I wrote the book. Scientists now are discovering the truth behind some of that ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
Now, who gets credit, right? The ancestors
Yeah.
or the PhDs in the big schools. And then modern day options is ties it together because there's so much that we should do. Get sunlight, exercise, social connections, self-care time, eating healthy, cooking our own food. But hey, I mean, we live in modern day life and there isn't always the time for that. So we have to find options to stitch the first two together.
one of my there's like a trend going on TikTok right now that it's like a voiceover sound bite, and it says like, I'm not feeling well, and then the person says, oh, did you get outside today? No. Did you eat well today? No. Did you give yourself gratitude today? No. Like, it's like all these no's, and well, then, what do you expect, kind of thing. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I have compassion for people not being able to get to it.
Mhm.
That's the villain in my book is modern day life, where we try
Sure.
to unpack in more responsibilities and expectations and excellences in our life, and the margins get too thin, and then that's why people will say no to all the really good, healthy, important things.
So
Yeah.
what, along these lines, what tips can you share with us for our listeners out there to maybe some simple adjustments that people can make to, feel better and make these modern day adjustments, I guess?
Yeah, just this conversation, this topic that we're having now, I think that would be step one, to consider how much am I putting on my plate? What do I, in my mind's eye, what do I look like in the mirror? Or what am I supposed to look like in the mirror?
Mm.
What is my bank account supposed to be looking like? I have two small kids, so you just are not going to get as much done when you,
Sure,
I
sure.
wrote this book when I had one small kid, published right after I had the second small kid, and then it's just gotten worse from there. In terms of time management and
Sure.
demands and wherewithal, and being real with expectations and demands, and on one side of the equation, and effort, and how much you have in the tank, resources, internal resources on the other side of the equation. That'd be my recommendation, is the first conversation to have, and then you can plan accordingly.
So that's kind of like getting an overview picture of what's going on, and then kind of take it from there, kind of thing.
Well, with all the images we're presented with all of the information and the podcast and things like this, there's this invitation to be exceptional, and this is covered in the book. And there's beauty in human limitations, and there's so much more happiness.
My wife would love you for saying that. I am the worst at that. She just told me this morning, like, you're doing too much and this, and so I'm gonna use that line for sure. I think there's some like kind of getting back to reality is as I think what you're going at.
Yeah, yeah, and then you can be really successful in more reasonable goals. So aim lower. It's not a sexy question, but aiming lower, I think that's where we find happiness in modern day life.
I love it. Now I'm sure Victoria, you have a bunch of questions you'd like to ask.
Yeah, Justin, I'm interested to know like how you got started and what sort of led you to writing the book, what sort of experiences you'd had in the lead up to that, and the type of people you were working with.
Sure. So I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, which means I practice psychiatry, and I do office visits, and patients come in and they have anxiety, depression, ADHD. I started around 2011. And through school, when I was going through nurse practitioner school, I became aware of functional medicine. And so that was like a split screen for me. I had the functional medicine piece, and then I was learning all the conventional healthcare medical model stuff, which is very valid. But I was, stitching them both together and then talking to patients. And then, like I said before, there was so much I wanted to spend with people. Luckily, I was given a half an hour to spend with people versus 15 minutes, but still it
Mhm.
wasn't time. And
Mhm.
the way I was seeing things, I just wanted people to know about these interconnections. And so that's how I got to writing the book.
Were you
Yeah.
seeing like themes with all the people that you were, talking with? There was like a common theme going on and things like that.
Sure. Yeah. I think, before maybe the pandemic, there was people getting stressed out, being under too many demands. Sleep is a huge one, and that really people weren't.
Don't get Victoria started on that.
Well, I mean,
Adam doesn't sleep. It's
you
his
know,
worst trait.
Yeah.
yeah, we were all recently sick. I mean, being sick, the one good part about being sick is you can catch up on those binge watching shows.
I
The bad part,
I just watched Griselda. It was pretty good.
oh, cool. Yeah, the
Yeah.
bad part about being healthy is like you really can't prioritize that. But
Yeah.
that I think in 2015, that was like a wave. I would note people would report they'd be staying up, like, oh, I have no self-control. I can't, I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. and then I
Yeah.
feel terrible. What kind of pills you got for me? So started the conversation. And then after the pandemic, even today, the social isolation piece really, really negatively impacted lots of people, and it impacted people in really subtle ways where, we unearth it and untangle it in the sessions. I mean, people don't even realize, maybe myself included, how big of a negative impact that had.
Now, this is a great topic, and I don't know how much time we have to talk about this, but it's something that is brought up in our house quite a bit. I do think there is a lot of negativity that kind of came from COVID and isolation and stuff like that. But like we were talking the other day, like when's the last time like we rode the bikes as a family? Like it doesn't happen anymore. Like where COVID, like that was happening every day, right? So I do think there was some positives, but we just didn't know how to take that and maybe like you're kind of saying, evolve that into life or prioritizing different things. But so yeah, let's talk about that a second, because it's something that we have recently talked about a lot in our household. Just the different things that we did during COVID that are positive, but obviously there was a bunch of negative things too.
Sure. Well, maybe I think a good analogy is if you break your leg or if you get some sort of illness and you're less mobile, and the doctor's like, don't walk, don't weight bear, don't do this. I think what you can learn from that is you can learn fear. You can learn the fear, like if I step on this foot, it's going to make it worse. I'm going to have the surgery. The communicated message, for better or worse, I think everybody was trying to do their best in the CDC and whatnot, but there was some fear learning there, like don't be around people. And I
Yeah,
might have gotten kind of ingrained. And
sure.
then people naturally have they fear learned and they have an instinct to kind of distance,
Oh
which
yeah. Yeah.
hope we unlearn,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, they're certainly not the best part of COVID, but there were some takeaways too, I think, like I wish we were still in some of that times of getting the family together. Now all the kids are just on the phones and I'm sure, stuff like that. So it's hard to get away from that in
Yeah, and
regular times.
I guess that must have been a different experience for everyone, depending on who they lived with at the time.
Right.
Because obviously you've got such a busy house, Adam, that for you it was like, oh my God, I've got everyone together. This is lovely.
Yeah.
Like I've got everyone here. We can't go out. The kids have to hang out with me. Like
Yeah.
this is perfect. Whereas for people who are used to that sort of really social lifestyle and then found themselves at home or just with a partner driving them mad or just, a flatmate or completely isolated, that must have been a very different experience. I was pregnant in the first pandemic and had our son, and I really enjoyed it because it meant that we were here all the time
Yeah.
together to bond and spent we didn't have people turning up at the door wanting to meet and hold the baby. We just got to be like, it's just us. So I had so many positives that came from it. But then as my son started to get older and we were still in a pandemic, I was worried about his socialization and like, right, how can I get him into understanding there are other toddlers and like babies in the world? And so I think it was a very interesting and different experience for everyone, depending where you were at in your life.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Again, I'm sure we could talk about this subject for days. I mean, everyone had their own crazy experiences. Tell us a little bit more about, again, where they can find the book, a little bit more about your, I know we're going to post this on our podcast, but where can we find more information about what you're doing and, stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I also have a website, thementalwellnessdiet.com, some blog posts going up. I try to keep up with that as best I can. If you want the paperback book, that's on Amazon.
Awesome.
And then on the website, there's a link for the audiobook, $10 to download. A computer guy named Walter. He's got a
Oh, really?
much better voice than me. Yeah.
That's
I've recognized his voice on TikTok. He does some voiceovers. It's a
No
computer.
way.
funny.
So
Wow. Well, yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm definitely going to order my copy on Amazon. I think this is such an interesting topic, again, especially in today's society, and I just love the modern day options. Any last words of wisdom for people maybe struggling or ADHD, as you mentioned earlier? Like obviously, maybe I don't know how much you talk about food in this type of relationship that you're helping people with, but tell us a little bit more about that, and again, some last minute tips.
Sure. Well, the the book is based on the principle of nutrient density.
Okay.
For every bite of food, you want to jam pack as many nutrients that your body needs, but more importantly for this book is that your brain needs. There's some key B vitamins and some key minerals, amino acids as well, to create the neurotransmitters that we need to be able to respond to life, and so we're not so dull, or things aren't so gray. There's also a host of nutrients, including cholesterol, which has been vilified for so long, that is essential for myelination. Myelination is that fatty coating on neurons, which speeds up communication within and across the brain. And you get less static, and you get less brain farts, and your brain cognition is much improved. And then there's more, balancing the immune system, fueling mitochondria. There's so many nutrients that if we can pick up a piece of broccoli or salmon, or fork up some fruit, or even if you wanted to gag down some liver or organ meats, these foods are jam-packed. And as you're eating it, if you read the book, you can all of a sudden have this excitement about like what you're feeding your brain, how you're helping yourself. Eat your broccoli is a phrase that stems from the discontent, the uncomfortable having to eat my broccoli because I know it's good for me. I'm trying to change the frame so people can enjoy it and feel excited about it and have that motivation and kind of want to eat well and get excited about it versus feeling like it's they have to.
Well, we talk about this all the time in our program, how there's companies spend billions of dollars and you see Kit Kats and Snickers all over, television. But when's the last time you saw a commercial for broccoli or zucchini or whatever?
Right.
You just don't see it. The other thing, as you're talking here, first of all, I'm loving all this conversation. I wish we could talk for hours, because especially cholesterol, I was born with super high cholesterol. So to see the positive side is I always like hearing that.
Smart. I could tell you. Logging in, I could tell.
Right. I'll tell my doctor that. But one thing I'm thinking about as you're talking here is, especially with kids, and I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of adolescents, and nourishing your body. We can't nourish our body while eating and looking at the screen either. And I'm sure this is something you discuss often, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had space for that in the book, but eating slower allows hydrochloric acid and the pancreatic enzymes and the peristalsis. It's a conveyor belt down there, and you want to like eat slow and be in a relaxed state and let that digestive parasympathetic dominant digestive system get the most out of whatever you just ate. So yeah, get off your phone when you eat.
Yeah, we have a rule in our house that needs to be implemented every single day, and that's no phones or no devices at the kitchen table. For some reason, they forget the last meal that we discussed that, and we have to remind them every single meal. But yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Justin. This was very informative. I am certainly going to go right now and purchase the book, as I think all our listeners should. I mean, this is just, general good information to have.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Thank you guys. As always, thank you, Victoria. If you guys want more information about Justin, we're going to leave all his information in the links. If you want more information about the Approach program, just go to jointheapproach.com or go to download the Approach app. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.